So how come the cops can set up a roadblock and stop everybody when they don't have either reasonable suspicion or probable cause, just to check and see if they have insurance? But why is not they don't have reasonable suspicion. They're stopping everybody. They certainly don't have probable cause. It's intrusive. I mean, I can spend 10 minutes in line for them to check my insurance. What's the basis for that being constitutional?
If the Constitution protects our privacy and freedoms, why does the government keep finding excuses to chip them away? Senator John Kennedy once again showed why he's one of the sharpest and most entertaining senators we've got in Washington. He has this way of asking questions that cut right through all the political nonsense and force people to answer in plain English. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered.
On condition to be nice to all of these folks. So with that, Senator Kennedy.
I'm always nice. How many of you worked for Senator Schmidt? All 4 of you. Is it true that he was suspended 23 times in junior high school in February alone?
They're under oath.
Look, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not going to ask you how you rule on cases, and I'm not going to ask you about your political beliefs. I just want to know how you think. Let's start with the counselor on the end. Let's suppose I'm a cop, and I'm on duty, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I see somebody driving down the road. Many other people around. It's on a Saturday night. Can I stop him?
Just because you see him driving around?
Yeah.
There would need to be more of a basis than that.
So the answer is no.
Correct.
Okay. Let's suppose that I recognize him, and on 3 previous occasions, he's been caught for charged with DWI, but he's not driving erratically. I'm the cop again. Can I stop him constitutionally?
Same answer. No.
No.
You would need more than that to be able to conduct an investigation.
Why doesn't that give me reasonable suspicion?
I think merely the fact that he was driving at 3 a.m. and had been pulled over previously for driving under the influence wouldn't be enough. Now, it certainly, if he were swerving or driving improperly in some other way, if he committed a traffic violation or something along those lines, certainly the officer would be well within his rights.
So we can agree our privacy is precious to us, even if we're in a car, right?
I would agree that the Fourth Amendment very thankfully protects us all from unreasonable searches and seizures.
So how come the cops can set up a roadblock and stop everybody when they don't have either reasonable suspicion or probable cause, just to check and see if they have insurance?
So there are limitations on scenarios like that, roadblock cases.
Can they do it first, counsel? I mean,
officers can set up roadblocks if they are applying it based on a neutral and articulable standard, and if that standard relates to something that is specific to automobiles. So they could not stop every car to search.
You're right about the law, but why is they don't have reasonable suspicion. They're stopping everybody. They certainly don't have probable cause. It's intrusive. I mean, I can spend 10 minutes in line for them to check my insurance. What's the basis for that being constitutional?
I think the way I would frame it is that the courts have decided that scenarios like that, and in scenarios like that, officers would not be acting unreasonably. So they would not be violating somebody's Fourth Amendment rights.
Because the Fourth Amendment
guarantees
prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures.
Correct.
And how do you determine whether something's unreasonable or not?
Well, I think that would very much depend on the situation, the specific facts and the context.
Don't you balance the costs and benefits?
In a scenario like that, yes.
Okay, cool. Judge, what's the rule now that the Supreme Court follows on reapportionment cases, congressional redistricting?
congressional redistricting. My understanding, Senator, is that the Supreme Court has decided that that's a political issue, and under the political issue doctrine that essentially the courts really don't have much of anything to say about political redistricting.
If Missouri's legislature gets together and it redraws districts, and they're, let's say, a majority of Democrats in the legislature, so they say, we're going to redraw these districts to benefit Democrats, and we're not going to be reluctant to say so. They say it in front of God and country. Is that okay?
Well, it's pursuant to the Supreme Court precedent. It's legal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm not going to get to all of you. Counselor? This counselor. Yes, ma'am. Do you think the meaning of the Constitution is immutable?
So I think that the U.S. Supreme Court has said that
I want to know what you think.
So, yeah, my view in terms of like what it is that, you know, my way of looking at the Constitution is to say, what does the text say, and what did it mean at the time that it was passed? And this is something that the U.S. Supreme Court also says. If that's not clear, I think there are other things you can look to, like history and tradition, to decide what the
You
text
look
means.
to what it meant at the time it was passed?
Correct.
What it meant to whom?
To the people who were passing it.
To the people who wrote it?
So I think there are various different ways of looking at this, and I think the U.S. Supreme Court has said that you look at the meaning that the words would have to the public at the time that the Constitution was ratified.
That's right. I'm done. Thank you. Congratulations.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and appreciate your patience in allowing me to.
And let me tell you, the answers we got in this hearing should have every American thinking hard about how much of our freedom we've already lost and how much the courts are willing to excuse in the name of reasonableness. So, let's walk through what went down. First off, Kennedy cracks a joke about being nice and even teases about Senator Schmidt being suspended 23 times in junior high. Classic Kennedy, he disarms you with humor, but you know he's about to hit hard with the real questions. And sure enough, he jumps right into a scenario. Suppose I'm a cop at 3 a.m. I see someone driving down the road. Can I stop them? The nominees say no. There's got to be a reason, some kind of reasonable suspicion. And they're right. That's what the Constitution says. The Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect us from exactly that kind of arbitrary government intrusion. But here's the kicker. Kennedy doesn't stop there. He ups the scenario. Okay, what if the person has 3 prior DWIs, but they're driving fine this time? Can I stop them then? And again, the answer is no. The law says you can't just assume someone's guilty or dangerous because of their past. Now, viewers, think about that. We live in a time where the government wants to track your car, your phone, your spending, even what you say on social media. And yet here, they admit they can't just stop you for no reason. Privacy still matters. Your freedom to move about without harassment still matters. And thank God, we've got the Fourth Amendment to draw that line in the sand. But then Kennedy exposes the double standard. He asks, so why is it constitutional for cops to set up roadblocks and stop every single driver without probable cause, without suspicion, just to check insurance? Boom. That's the real question. Because let's be honest, we've all seen these so-called checkpoints where you've done nothing wrong, yet you're forced to sit in line while government agents rifle through your business. And what do the nominees say? They admit, yes, roadblocks are legal if they're neutral and related to cars. In other words, if the government stops everybody equally, then it's suddenly okay. Excuse me? That's supposed to make it better? Viewers, that's still government overreach. That's still treating every citizen as a potential criminal. Kennedy's point is clear. If our privacy is precious, why do we tolerate these blanket intrusions? Why are courts bending over backwards to justify what would otherwise be unconstitutional? And the answer they give is the most Washington answer you'll ever hear. Well, the courts balance costs and benefits. In other words, judges decide how much of your freedom is worth trading away for government convenience. That should make your blood boil. Then Kennedy switches gears to congressional redistricting reapportionment cases. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road in politics, because the Supreme Court has basically washed its hands of partisan gerrymandering. They call it a political question. So Kennedy asks the hypothetical, what if Democrats in Missouri openly redraw districts to benefit themselves? Is that legal? And the answer?
Yep.
Perfectly legal under current precedent.
Think about that.
The courts will step in to protect criminals from being stopped without cause, but when it comes to protecting your vote from being diluted and manipulated by corrupt politicians, suddenly it's not their job. That's the swamp for you, folks. They'll find a way to bend the law when it benefits the system, but when it comes to protecting the average American, suddenly their hands are tied. Finally, Kennedy asks a question that cuts to the heart of America's legal system. Is the Constitution's meaning immutable? And this nominee actually gave a decent answer. She said her view is to look at the text and what it meant at the time it was ratified. That's what we call originalism. That's the approach that respects the Constitution as the law of the land, not as a living, breathing document that judges can twist to fit the latest fad or woke ideology. And I'll tell you this, that's exactly what we need more of in the courts. Judges who understand that the Constitution is not some Play-Doh to be reshaped whenever the left wants to push its agenda. It is the supreme law of the land, written with wisdom that stands the test of time. Now here's my big takeaway, folks. Senator Kennedy's questioning exposed the constant tug-of-war in America right now. On one hand, we've got the Constitution, a document that protects your liberty, your privacy, your God-given rights. On the other hand, we've got courts and bureaucrats who keep trying to carve out exceptions. Oh, it's reasonable. Oh, it's neutral. Oh, it's political. That's how liberty gets chipped away, one so-called reasonable exception at a time. And if we don't stand up and demand leaders, judges, and senators who honor the Constitution as written, then the America we hand to our kids won't look anything like the America we grew up with. So hats off to Senator Kennedy for asking the tough questions. But now it's on us, the people, to keep asking those same questions and holding these viewers accountable. Do you want a government that treats you like a free citizen or like a suspect every time you leave your driveway? Do you want judges who stick to the Constitution or ones who twist it into whatever the political class wants? That's the fight. That's the choice. And as a proud Trump supporter, I'll tell you this. We either defend our Constitution tooth and nail, or we watch it eroded into nothing. All right, viewers, let me know in the comments what you think. Was Senator Kennedy right to press them on these issues? Do you think roadblocks and gerrymandering should be legal? Or is this just another example of government overreach? This is Prodigy Unfiltered. Like, share, subscribe, and stay in the fight. God bless America.